undefined? Where have you heard it from? Have you heard it? Do you notice something about that number, Sasha? Okay, yeah, lucky you. Undefined rational expressions. Do you remember anything about it? Yeah. You don't really know what it is? Yeah, sure. Yeah, Tony, add on to that.
I remember when there was no solution.
Sorry, Tony, pause. Kieran and Wyatt talking one.
This is usually when you're trying to solve x, but there are multiple answers for x.
So no solution was like you're solving for x, there's multiple solutions.
End up with 8
You
equals 3 or something.
could have something that was no solution or infinite solutions. That's slightly on track with what that would be. Undefined today, we're going to dive into a little bit off track of the no solution, infinite solution route, because we're not solving systems, we're just simplifying this expression. And remember, in math, it's not possible ever to divide by 0. And therefore, you can say a fraction with a 0 in the denominator, we can call undefined. And I'm going to prove it to you. If you have, let's set up some work just right over here in the corner. We'll kind of split this thing up in half. If you have 0 divided by a number, let's just say 2. 0 divided by 2 would be 0. And you know that works because you could also do the inverse of division and say 2 times what is 0? 2 times what is 0? And it would be 0. Okay, so 0 divided by 2 works. Now let's flip it. What about 2 divided by 0? It's not the same thing. Every 8th grader wants to say 0. Every 7th grader wants to say 0, but why does that not work? I'll take a hand. Wyatt. We're not dividing 0 by 2. We're dividing 2 by 0. And if this would work, you're going to do the inverse. So 0 times what is 2? 0 times what is 2? 0 times nothing is 2. 0 times 0 isn't 2. 0 times... So nothing works for the inverse. That's why you can't divide by 0. It's just not possible. So there's kind of your behind the scenes peek for why it just can't be 0. Every 7th and 8th grader would like to put 0 for a 0 on the bottom, but it doesn't work. Let's try. So what is it? I kind of want a number for this, but undefined is one of those weird things where mathematicians just don't know. And they've actually been trying to figure it out, and there's people who kind of go into more intellectual behind the scenes college mathematics, and they try to figure it out, and they haven't really been able to come with any semblance of an answer. Some people think maybe it's close to infinity, because if you have 1 divided by a really, 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 really tiny number that's close to 0, let's put 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1. If you put 1 divided by a really tiny number, that number is fairly close to 0. Let's see what we get. Let's go 1 divided by 0.0000001. That's going to be 1, 0, 2 zeros, 3, 3. That's 10 million. And you could keep going with that. And so some mathematicians logically say oh, well, since we're dividing it by a really small number, maybe this is going to be infinity. Maybe it's going to be infinity. And so some mathematicians are yeah, let's just say that instead of undefined, we want to put a number to it. Let's say infinity. But what happens if I do this? Do I get infinity? No, I get negative infinity, the opposite end. So I can't logically say undefined is infinity. I can't say 2 divided by a 0 is infinity, because it could also logically be negative infinity. And so really, if you are stoked about math and the whole intellectual, philosophical behind the scenes of math, you might go into some degree that is in math and write a thesis about what you think undefined actually is, and you'd probably end up making a whole bunch of money because mathematicians just don't know. It's like a mystery. They have no clue. And so the only word that they've come up with is this word undefined. So that's the behind the scenes. You don't need to know that for a test. You don't need to write me a paragraph about why. I just think it's really cool and something that just like isn't found out yet and is a mystery in math. We also need to kind of know why we're just putting the answer as undefined rather than just it doesn't work. So let's put this problem next to it here and see what we're trying to find for this set of notes. For what value of x is 3 times x minus 4 over x minus 5 undefined? When you look at this problem, there's only one number that would make it undefined. And if I look at the bottom, I'm thinking kind of like zero product property. What number minus 5 would be 0? And the value of x would have to be 5. Let's see what that does to the entire thing. I'm not trying to simplify it really. I just want to see if this works. So 3 times 1 and 5 minus 5 is 0. 3 times 1 and 5 minus 5 is 0. So we get 3 over 0. This can't work. This is undefined. So you just found x equals 5 would be the only number that would make it undefined. We're not simplifying it. We're not trying to make it like solve for it or anything like that. We just want to know what is undefined or what's going to make it undefined.
We're trying to find the answer that doesn't work.
Correct.
Wait, what?
So x equals negative 2 doesn't work. Here's why. Negative 2 plus 2 is 0. Negative 2 minus 8 would be negative 10. And so this is just going to be x equals negative 2. That doesn't work. It would make it undefined.
What?
I'll take a hand. Tony.
Well, like, is there a way to find what x really is, or
Yeah, if you had an equation and they actually had an equal sign for us, we could, but we don't have that equal sign, so there's no way we're going to solve for it. If it was like that, sure, you could solve for x. Today is not that lesson, though. Kieran, Porter, have to ask. Tanner, question?
I was just gonna say what.
So this problem in general is easier than all the other problems we've done the past like month because really you just need one thing to look at, and that's the bottom. You can do this mentally. So x would be 7 minus what is 0? 7 minus 7 is 0. There's your answer. When you get to something that looks like this, you do need to show work for this type of problem because there's more than one step. I need to know what I would place in here to make 0. Some of you might be able to do it mentally, others won't. Right now you need to set this up, Elliot, board the paper, as equal to 0. I want to know what in place of x would make a 0, so we're just going to solve it like an equation to find that number. What's the answer, Tanner? It's 4. Why, it's unprofessional too. X is equal to 4. So you could try it out in here and like think, does that work? Prove it, it does. 12 minus 12 is 0, so x equals 4. Yeah. I know, it's distracting you guys. Yeah.
I think they figured out what undefined means.
Maybe. Yeah. Does yours look weird like this? Yeah. Okay. So let's set it up. 8 minus 2 to the x equals 0. This one's going to be more, I think I would solve this one thinking about it more like logically, not solving for 0 because there's a 2 to the x power. If I have 8 minus 2 to something power, I want it to be 0. 2 to some power is going to be 8. 2 to the second is 4. 2 to the third is 8. So if I have 2 to the third power, this is going to be 8 minus 8. So x, the power I'm missing right here, the exponent would have to be 3. set up this equal to 0. X squared minus 81 equals 0. When you have a trinomial or something squared, we can factor it to make it what would be 0. What are my factors of x squared minus 81, Kingston?
9.
X plus 9 and? Okay, so if you have
Where'd you get 2 from?
I was thinking of 2 answers. If I have a 2 right here, if I have a 2, I'm gonna eliminate blunders if they become a distraction. If you think you found a blunder, you can raise your hand and then Colby go ahead and mark it. But if you're just like commenting on Colby's blunder markings, it makes it more of a distraction and doesn't help us learn. Here we go. If I have a 2 in the exponents, you know there are 2 answers. So this is not just x equals -9 that would make it undefined. -9 plus 9 is 0, but it's also going to be 9. 9 minus 9 is also 0. If you have a squared value here, the x is to the second, you know there are that many answers. There are 2 possibilities, -9 and 9. That would make it undefined. You got 5 minutes to roll through. I do not need to see work for 1 through 6. I do need to see work for 7 through 12. 1 through 6 should be pretty mental and be done in like the next minute. 7 through 12, I need to see set up. 2x plus 4 equals 0. 2n plus 4 equals 0. 27 minus 3 to a power equals 0. Yeah, Mackenzie. Okay. You want to trade out desk?